What is up, guys? Nundark here. We once again, nope, not this time. We once again have a special guest, Kevin herself. She has been turned into a Pokemon card, so kind of technically a Pokemon. Not loving any part of this. She might stay, she might not, she won't. We are going to go over today our top 23 most iconic Grail cards ever printed by Pokemon that have to, here's the catch, they have to be pullable in a booster pack. This excludes promos. This excludes trophy cards. These are English cards that have to be pullable by any of us from a booster pack. And this is my top 23. They have to be iconic, infamous cards of high value, most likely, right? Extremely popular, very rare. We all know them. And we're gonna go in order of release date. And these are gonna be my top 23, and we're gonna have a couple honorable mentions. But I think this will be a really fun list because it's gonna walk you down a memory lane of like the most iconic cards ever printed. It's gonna maybe inspire you guys to save up and or trade in to get one of these. I'm curious which from this list are your favorite. Which did I leave out? I'm sure I left some out. It was very hard to even narrow this down to the top 23. And then which of these do you already own? I'd be curious, all the above. Let me know in the comments, subscribe if you're not, but let's get right to the list. First, we're gonna start with the infamous, must be included, #1 most iconic card in all of Pokemon, the Shadowless First Edition base set Charizard. Then we are going to go to another Shadowless First Edition card. This one is not off price point, but it is mostly off of its uniqueness, and we all own this card. Maybe not Red Cheeks variant, but it is the first ever Pikachu card ever, and it is just the common base set First Edition Shadowless Red Cheeks Pikachu. I think the Red Cheeks variant is kind of the first almost misprint or Easter egg that was in Pokemon and warrants a spot on this list. Those two cards obviously have the Blastoise and Venusaur from base set, but I felt like the Charizard and then the Red Cheeks Pikachu deserve to be on this list. Then we go into Blaine's Charizard First Edition from Team Rocket. Next is the First Edition Lugia from Neo Genesis. Then we have the First Edition Moonbryon, the original Moonbryon, OG Umbreon Moonbryon from Neo Discovery. Okay, First Edition, of course. There's going to be several. All these are First Edition. Then from the Moonbryon, we go to the First Edition Shining Gyarados from Neo Revelations. So now we're getting into the Shining cards. So some of the gimmicks in Pokemon that remain to this day the most valuable, coveted, rare cards of all time are Shinings, Crystals, and Gold Stars. So obviously you're going to see some of those coming up, and those have to make everyone's list. It's more or less just which ones do you choose. Curious to know your thoughts on the ones I chose. So we start with the Shining Gyarados from Neo Revelation. Then we have the First Edition Shining Mewtwo from Neo Destiny, the First Edition Shining Tyranitar from Neo Destiny, and the First Edition Shining Charizard, also from Neo Destiny. I happen to own a copy of the Shining Mewtwo. This was actually my brother-in-law's / potentially my wife's, but I purchased it from him, and it graded a 5.5. But this is the card I'm referencing, the Shining Mewtwo. Absolutely iconic, blacked out Pokemon with kind of that shining feel where it's like illuminated by light. And then yes, you have the Shining T-Tar and the Shining Charizard.
I somehow forgot Legendary Collection in its entirety, probably because this artwork looks the exact same as the base set Charizard. Nonetheless, these Fireworks Reverse Hollows are all-time. Legendary Collection is an all-time set, and the Charizard obviously takes the cake. Very expensive, like $2,000 booster packs.
Then you get into the Crystals. These are e-reader cards. So still WotC, you get into your Crystals, and the two most iconic in my opinion are the Crystal Celebi and the Crystal Charizard, both from Skyridge. Then moving out of the WotC era into Nintendo, we start with the EX generation cards. And in Fire Red Leaf Green, we have the Gengar EX and the Charizard EX. Two of the more iconic, kind of silver bordered standard EX cards from the EX era. And then you have your Gold Stars. So to start, we have one of the harder to pull, rarest, and most pricey Gold Stars of all time and of all the Gold Stars, of which there are, I think, 26 of, maybe 28 of total. But you have the Gold Star Torchic. And this is actually my childhood copy, obviously, grade 3.5, probably buried this in a sandbox once or twice. But this is the Gold Star Torchic from Team Rocket Returns, a starter Pokemon from this era, alongside the Mudkip and the Trico. But the Torchic was by far the least printed and, the most valuable of the three. Then you have the Rayquaza Gold Star from EX Deoxys, the Gold Star Gyarados from EX Holland Phantoms, and another card from that set, and that's the Red Gyarados, Delta Species, Fire type, awesome card. Then you have the mascot of Pokemon itself in Gold Star format. You'd run through a brick wall for this Pikachu. It looks ready to fight. It looks like it can't be stopped. This copy has a swirl on it. This is my personal grail. Obviously still low grade. It is a PSA 5, but you have the Gold Star Pikachu from Holland Phantoms as one of the more iconic, pricey Gold Stars that there is. And then rounding out the Gold Stars, obviously you have the Gold Star Charizard, Delta Species, Darkness, Energy type Charizard from EX Dragon Frontiers. And then a final Gold Star is from Pop Series 5. It is the Gold Star Umbreon. This one actually made the reprint in Celebrations 25th anniversary. There is the obvious Gold Star Umbreon reprint, which is still fetching a $40 to $50 price point, very heavily printed. The original Pop Series 5 Gold Star Umbreon, not very heavily printed. Very pricey, very hard to get. I think it's extremely iconic in the Pokemon TCG. Okay, then after the Gold Star cards, personally, let me know if you disagree. I feel like everything from that point to Sun and Moon is not iconic, not a grail. Yes, there are a couple $100 cards, couple $100 cards. Maybe there's a $1,000 card in there, but they're not iconic. A lot of people fell out of the hobby from 2007 to call it 2015. Really, actually, like 2017. And got back in during Sun and Moon, really with XY Evolutions and on. But there's not really an iconic grail card of XY Evolutions because it's reprints. So in Sun and Moon, you know where I'm going with this, but the next card I deem a grail iconic card is the Latios GX Tag Team card from Team Up. Then I skip to Sword and Shield. I kind of picked what defines those eras, right? Sun and Moon is the Latios. Then you have the current Moonbreon card from Evolving Skies defining the entire Sword and Shield era. And then you get to Scarlet and Violet. Too modern to officially call them grails, and you could even argue iconic because there's recency bias there. So I put them as honorable mentions. These are not included. One of them I did put as iconic. So the honorable mentions, okay, we will get to what I feel is the most iconic, already deemed an iconic grail of the Scarlet and Violet era. Might surprise you, might not. I'm sure many of us have a copy of it. But there are two honorable mentions. The first honorable mentions is the Surging Sparks Pikachu Special Illustration Rare. This is the Japanese variant, but it is the only copy I have to show for reference. I think this card, years down the road, is going to be one of the iconic images of the Scarlet and Violet era. Then you have the Sunbreon, the Umbreon from Prismatic Evolutions, fetching the #1 highest price point or price in all the Scarlet and Violet era. A lot of you are going to argue that that should be a not honorable mention. It should make the most iconic Grail card list and be the card that defines Scarlet and Violet. I can't fully disagree with you on that, but I do feel, okay, now we're leaving honorable mentions and getting to the 23rd most iconic Grail card in all of Pokemon. and I think it is the Charizard from 151. Here's why. 151 brought the masses back into the hobby. It is peak nostalgia. It is memory lane of the original 151 Pokemon, and there is no Pokemon more iconic, maybe other than Pikachu, right, the mascot, than Charizard. Charizard, I probably listed 7 Charizards on this list of top 23 cards. There's a reason for that. Charizard is the probably 1B mascot of Pokemon and the most iconic cards ever printed. And 151 arguably defines the Scarlet and Violet era, got everyone back into the hobby. People were master setting it like crazy. The only reason that this card isn't more expensive is because of how much it was printed and how many PSA 10s are out there. But this card right here will, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, even now, this is so iconic. You know what you're looking at the moment you see it, and it is a modern day grail and it has to make the list, in my opinion, over the Sunbreon. But time will tell, and everyone's opinions are different, but this to me rounds out my top 23 most iconic grail cards that are pullable from booster packs. If you wanted a one copy, a raw copy of all the cards I just listed, I didn't put the time in to get that price. My guess would be you would have to fork over, on average, let's say it's $1,000 per card. You are probably looking at, and some might be a little less, you probably need to be prepared to spend $20,000 to own a raw copy of all of the cards I just mentioned. PSA 10, you are well into the hundreds of thousands to get PSA 10 copies of every card I just mentioned, obviously, because the base set first edition Shadowless Charizard exceeds 100K on its own. So you are approaching $500,000 to get all of what I just listed in a PSA 10, probably $20,000 plus. Honestly, I forget what the base set first edition Shadowless Charizard is raw. You might be looking at 20 to 50K just to own one of each of these cards raw. Crazy. But that's where Pokemon is. That's how iconic it is. And those are my top 23 cards. Let me know what you think in the comments. Subscribe if you're not. But most importantly, as always, especially with all the things going on in the world, be a good person. Tell someone you love them. I'll catch you in the next one. Nundark out. Peace.